executive session. Did you need more time?
I'm done, so I'll see if Dawn's ready.
Oh, okay.
Is your leg still bothering you?
No, I get restless leg syndrome.
That's not fun.
But it is still bothering me, yeah.
I think I forgot to tell you guys last time, your cards to get into the building, hold those up to the card reader, they need to be updated. Hold them up there.
I don't have one anymore.
It's just Brett and Rogers.
Okay. But I don't have a card, I don't think. Unless I could still use the one from the fire, from the ambulance
Should
service.
be the same thing, they could just shut you
It's
off.
the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Good morning, Doc.
I got the tax sale paperwork from the court and from Leslie, so I got the taxes paid on the 2 properties that were sold. And we had to abate off some of the years because obviously we didn't collect, the sale didn't pay all the taxes. So I have the abatements, 5 abatements for tax money that we abated off that I need signed. And it just says 1 commissioner, so I don't know if that, does it matter which one?
Just usually Willie is who would have to do.
Okay. So, if you would sign down there at the bottom where it says commissioner approval.
Have we already seen these, Dawn? Otherwise, we need to approve.
You want to look at
Yeah,
it?
you need to.
Yeah.
Took a couple.
Right. So the 2 properties sold, there was 5 total that were in the sale. 3 of them got redeemed by the owners, so they didn't sell. The other 2 went up for sale and sold. One of them, there was enough to pay the taxes, so we didn't have to abate off anything. This particular one, there was not enough collected in the sale of the property to pay the taxes in full. So I applied as much as I could, and then we abated off the rest, so it's a clean slate for the new owner to go forward.
We need a motion on that?
Is this one for each year for 5 years?
Yes, yeah, the tax year's up at the top corner.
Need a motion to abate these taxes in?
Yes.
I so move.
Second.
First and second to abate this tax. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carry.
And then I also wanted to approach the board on the policy for meals for traveling when we're gone for things. At our last department head meeting, we all kind of discussed that having a one-size-fits-all policy that we currently have, $15 a meal no matter what, is kind of difficult for us, especially when, like with me, I was gone for an entire week at conferences. Some of the hotels had complimentary breakfast, some of them didn't. To eat out for a supper, an evening meal for $15 is getting very difficult. Some of these conferences are off in hotels or casinos off to out in the middle of nowhere that you can't really, I mean, it's a 20-minute drive to go find something, so you eat at the hotel. And so during my conference, I asked some of the other treasurers what their county policies were, and everybody I asked had a completely different policy. There was no two policies, county policies that were the same. But the one thing that most of them did have was some flexibility. If you were a department head that was out on conference, you had a per diem per day versus if you were an ambulance driver transporting a patient or a deputy transporting a prisoner, you had a $15 meal limit. So it wasn't just a one size fits all. There was different levels, there was different to accommodate the different circumstances for whatever travel you're doing for the county. So I wanted to see if we could discuss, I know it's in the policy handbook, so I'm sure there would have to be some sort of, if something were to change, a motion, draw up, whatever. But as department heads, I guess I'm the sucker they voted to come in here, but whatever,
Are you asking to raise the per diem?
well,
Or raise the price of the meal or what?
either raise the price of the meal or give us a daily per diem versus $15 a meal, because right now it's $15 a meal. But if I don't eat breakfast or my hotel provides a free continental breakfast, I can't bank that $15 to supper to make it $30 for supper. Because right now it's $15 a meal no matter what. So,
Really?
yeah. That's what I've been told over,
What's that? It's $15 a meal.
But you have a use it or lose it policy?
which to me doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense to me either, because when I was working for the state,
Right.
if we didn't write all that down, if we did or didn't use it, then they would get a hold of us.
Yeah, but the handbook states $15 a
$15
meal,
per
use it or
day.
lose it. So I would like to address that we maybe change that.
Revisit that?
Revisit that, because you can't even go to our local Mexican restaurant for supper for $15, let alone when you're out at these big cities and these conferences and things. So, and I understand for prisoner transfers and that type of stuff, yeah, you just need a $15 per meal limit. They don't need to be going to Red Lobster and having all, when they're doing these things, but
Well, that was posed as an ethical question one time, because people, working for the state,
Mm-hmm.
bank the money. And they were like, well, isn't that, illegal or unethical to do that? And it was like, no. I mean, you can either choose to eat at McDonald's.
Right.
Or you can choose to eat at Red Lobster.
Right.
It's a choice, but this is what we will provide per meal.
right. So
Okay. I didn't know that,
yeah.
because I don't
so-
use it. So I don't know.
Right. So I hadn't used it for a while, obviously, either. And then when I was gone for this entire week, going on all of these places, it's like, I had to really, it really came into effect. And
And
we
once
had,
you eat at a fast food place, it's about double that.
right, exactly. And honestly, when I'm out traveling and on these conferences, I don't want to eat at McDonald's. Not that I want to eat at some lavish place, but and the use it or lose it kind of thing is, I think it would be, especially for department heads or elected officials, or some way of doing it that we have a daily per diem versus.
Can I ask a favor? I mean, in reviewing all of this, when the department heads meet again,
Tomorrow.
which I'm not gonna be here, sorry. But when you guys meet again, I know that working for the state, there was a per diem for breakfast, there was a per diem for lunch, and there was a per diem for supper.
Right.
And they were different amounts.
Right.
And so if
And
you
there's
guys
some-
wanna discuss
yeah.
something like that.
There were some counties that lunch was 15, breakfast and lunch were 15 each, and supper was 30. So there's a million different ways that we could do this, because every treasurer I talked to had a different
And your
way.
receipt's gonna have it time punched on there anyway.
Right, because we're turning in our
You don't have to worry
receipts.
about somebody.
Would it work if we just give you X amount per day and you do it however you want?
I think we
Some people
would,
don't eat breakfast.
yeah, I think we would enjoy that, but I don't know if that's
It's
the
all
type
based on
of
travel
policy.
times.
Yeah,
Because usually with a voucher, what you're supposed to do is, when you're supposed to put the time that you leave
Mm-hmm.
and the time that you get back. So if you're leaving at 10 o'clock in the morning, that's gonna include lunch and supper. If you're leaving at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's only gonna be supper that day.
Right.
So that's why they had the 3 amounts, because it was based on your travel times, and then you just got that per diem for the hours that you were gone.
Okay.
So we can discuss at our department head meeting tomorrow and maybe come to a consensus on kind of where we would all like it, and then come back
Yes,
on July 15th,
yes.
the next meeting, with some sort of proposal, and we can go from there on getting it changed? Okay,
That would be my recommendation as
Okay.
council.
okay, okay, yeah, because we just, like I said, it's the use it or lose it kind of thing is,
And another thing too is, because it's all based on hours, you don't have to keep your receipts. Because it's all based on the time that you're gone, and you take out the use it or lose it.
okay. Is that gonna get into a liability issue as far as not turning in our receipts if we're,
If you don't turn them in, you don't get repaid anyway.
No,
We have to have receipts.
well, I know as it stands now,
Right.
you have to have the receipts. but
For
if you-
auditors, not the county, for auditors, we have to have receipts.
to make sure that we're not buying alcohol and all
Okay.
that fun stuff?
All right, well, we'll revisit
But
it.
it also
So-
needs to be day trip stuff, because there's day trips paid different than overnight stays.
They are?
Day
Why
trips
would
are
that
gonna have to run through payroll where you pay taxes.
Oh, so the same policy as far as $15 a meal is, whether it's a day trip or an overnight trip. It's just, it gets reimbursed to the employee differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was no working for the state, it was different.
Well, we all don't work for the state.
Because some sheriff in the state decided he wanted more money, so they started paying him through day trips.
Oh, good lord, really?
Yeah, and that's where this law came up now that,
Okay.
now that it's, if you don't stay overnight, then it has to be paid through payroll and taxes and everything come out.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, that's, so. Okay, that's all I really have.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dawn.
So, thank you.
Gentlemen?
Go ahead, Bill, you go first, Dawn.
Basically, I just need some clarification on a couple of things. Now, a couple of months ago, we received a check for $2,200 to maintain medical equipment. I know there'd been a resolution passed years ago that through the sale of something there, we got so much money to have to maintain medical equipment. Now, what was done with that $2,200? I purchased 4 new four-wheel walkers with the hand grips and lock it handles, and it's got the seat where a person can turn around and sit down on. Purchased 3 knee walkers. I don't know if any of you know what it is, but a person has a busted ankle.
Oh, yeah,
whatever, they
I've seen 'em.
put their knee on it, they walk around. 4 new sets of crutches and 4 new stool risers. And the thing is, a lot of that equipment down there is old. And when we got it, and I'm not throwing rocks at Scott here, when we got it from upstairs, stuff was turned in there, a lot of times it wasn't checked, said it was busted, damaged. So down there, when it comes in, I clean it, sterilize it. If it's damaged, if I can repair it, I'll repair it. If not, it goes in the corner, and as you saw in the paper here a couple of weeks ago, all that medical equipment that went out, that was all busted beyond my ability to repair it. And now, we've got excess of some and shortage of others. A lot of that equipment is getting old and it's gonna need to be replaced. And the reason why I'm asking the old resolution, we got so much money to repair the medical equipment. And why did that stop? As I understand, we're no longer going to get that.
I don't, Bill, I think,
It wasn't
Can I
you,
explain?
It's sat there for 15 years. You guys
Okay.
never asked
Yeah.
for it.
Well, see, I didn't know that. This is, this is where I'm becoming aware of that. I didn't know it because, and I can show you the receipts for what I use that money for. But if we can rebuild it, because a lot of people use that, from St. Francis, Birch, even McDonald's uses our equipment because they don't have to pay a bill of it. A lot of it's for senior people, a lot of for young people. as
I know
well.
I used it
Yeah.
for a wheelchair and they're
Yeah.
pretty old.
And,
Where'd the money come from? You know, is it from the directory?
The address list that we do in the
Okay.
clerk's
Yeah,
office.
see, I think that was something that Terry, to my knowledge, I go back when Lions Club was still meeting out at the windmill when Pat Rhodes had it out there. That's been 15, 20 years ago probably. Terry Miller came to a meeting and gave us $500, and I understood it was from that address directory. And is that right? Do you know, Scott? You don't know? Oh, nobody's here long enough to know, but I know that happened. And so I'm wondering if that's what that fund, when you put one out, Scott, that money sets aside in a special fund and does it? And that's what was distributed to the Lions here a couple months ago, right? And to my knowledge, Bill, that money wasn't, I think it was something Terry Miller did, in my mind. Maybe
Yeah,
you
there
know,
was no
Scott.
resolution or
I
anything.
don't, to my
Just-
knowledge, unless they went way back way before Terry Miller.
And I did get a hold of Terry, and he said it was just something that they did.
I think Terry Miller probably initiated or
Right,
did.
there was no
because he-
resolution, no motion or anything on it. so.
Okay, well, that clarifies part of it, and I invite all of you to come down and take a look at what we're doing there. As you know, I bought the old Goodyear store, but I didn't buy it for profit. Everything in there is for community service, where we have all the medical equipment, the Lions Club, the VFW, and everybody meets on the other side. In the back where all the work's being back there, it's all being cleaned out, and, you know, there's one vehicle that's being painted over in Stratton. Once it's assembled, there'll be no more auto body work done or anything in that shop there. It's all for community service, basically. If you come down there now, you'll find about 70 bicycles stored back in that back room there. Norton won't open up till after the 4th of July for us to start taking bicycles down there. And I did this as community service when I bought that. I'm paying the taxes, the insurance and everything, and the payments all out of my own pocket. And I didn't ask a dime for anybody to do this. I did it to support the community. And like I say, please come down and see what's there. Take a look at the equipment we've got. And I'm asking, please don't stop that little bit of money, because every little bit helps in this case here. And you can see, if you come down, you see some of the equipment is old. I just got donated a electric wheelchair, but the batteries are shot, so I've got to find a place where I can get batteries for it, because I can't get them through Grimes Pharmacy. They don't order batteries. And that all mounts up. But I've had people ask about one. I've got one now, but it's not serviceable.
Well, like I say, I had to use a wheelchair from there,
Right.
but it was pretty old,
Yeah.
you know, and I appreciate it. It's a good service.
And it's young and old alike are using it. And there's a sign down there saying I'm available 24/7. I've come in at midnight when somebody's getting released from the hospital, got them out medical equipment. I've been in there on Saturdays, Sundays, it doesn't make a difference. I've made myself available for that. Okay. That's all I have, but thank you for your time.
I think me, old Bill Big, to me, he's Mr. Volunteer of Cheyenne County. I don't know anybody that I know of will go out of their way like he's been doing for the last, well, he's been involved with us in Lions Club, and so I know he gets a lot of flack sometimes, but I think he's done a lot of,
Yeah,
done a lot
community
of,
service.
I've been over backwards to service people. I have a few concerns that I have. And one thing is the sound system. I know the courtroom up there, they've got microphones. I come in here, I've been coming here, and you probably don't like to see me come here, but everybody or meeting when I'm around, I come down here to try to learn what's going on. I still don't know. I can't hear a lot of the time. And I wonder if there's some way we can get where people, and Rodney, I know he has hearing problems too. Some of us old geezers don't hear very well. There's some way we can get a sound system where people that come here, they can hear what's going on, and you guys talking to me, you're talking undertones. I can hear you talking, but I don't understand what you're saying. And what if there's some way we can clarify, I don't want to, maybe it's, I'm sticking clear out of school on this thing, but what's going on here when you pass all kinds of resolutions and stuff, and I don't quite understand I don't want to interrupt your meeting, but I'd like to know what's going on and what's happening and how our taxpayer dollars are being spent.
Well,
And so I don't know how to address this.
That's one of the reasons we have the TV thing there, because to afford something like that would be pretty expensive. We have to have tests done, and it's pretty expensive to put one in here.
So I can sit in
Because
my
of the
house-
acoustics
I can
and
get in my
everything.
house and sit on my computer and listen to what's going on here.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, somebody give me how to do that, and I'll quit bothering you, except when I got something to talk to you
I
about.
believe-
I just,
YouTube.
Yeah, it's in the paper where you see the next commissioners
I get
meeting,
in
right
there
on
and
the
I-
bottom of it says how to
okay,
get on it.
I still don't find it, so. Anyway, I see Scott here and
Yeah.
read it. You got it from High Point. The lady from High Point that came here a few months ago is gonna be presenting at our Lions Club at the next meeting, July 18th. So you're all invited to come and hear what she has to say there. She gave a presentation here, and I heard some comment, well, that's duplicating what's
Where are
already
they
been
gonna do
done.
this?
What's that? I'm
Where's
sorry.
this gonna happen at?
Down at the volunteer center, the building Bill talking about, Lions VFW Volunteer Center on the 18th of July, 7 o'clock. She'll be presenting, you're all welcome to come to that too.
If you
I
remind
gave you
me
all a
of-
Lions brochure, you're all welcome to come. Any of our Lions meetings, we're totally open meeting, and we invite people to come, and we encourage you to come and be part of it. And so that's a concern I have, is that. And I'm concerned about greater transparency. I don't know how you talk about Haynes owns his newspaper and he can put whatever he wants to in it, but I don't know if there's any, on your part, or is there any way we can get to Haynes and get the minutes with this stuff, so people know? I get this, here, a friend gives me Sharon Springs paper, they put the minutes of the commissioners meeting, the city council meeting, school board meetings are all in that newspaper. We don't get that much of that here, and I don't know how we address that. I think the public has a right to know what's going on and how our money's being spent. And so how do we do that? So I hope you guys address that issue, and maybe we need to.
Elmer, we've had this conversation before.
I know we
The
have.
commissioners cannot control the paper. The paper controls what is put in the paper.
You're right. But if anybody here talked to Haynes about this and
We
discussed it
can't.
with? What?
They can't.
What do you mean you can't? You can talk to Haynes about anything, and that's like Bill's been trying
That's
to.
telling them how to run their paper.
We can ask him to put this.
You
stuff-
can ask him, yes.
You can too, you people are the power people in this community, I'm just a peon. But,
Well, I don't know if we can, but like I say, there again, it's on the TV here. And,
okay,
The minutes are available in my office for anybody to read.
okay.
They're also online.
If I walk into your office and ask for the minutes, you'll print me out a copy?
Well, I can print you out, but you're gonna have to pay for them, but you can read them out of the book too if you want. But they're also online. They're on our website.
Okay. Well, I've watched enough of those and I couldn't find, so I don't know, I'm not very good at this, so.
This week, I've taken over the website. I've been teaching myself how to get stuff on there, and they are up to date now, the minutes.
Okay, well, they weren't a while back, I checked a while back and I couldn't find anything after December 15th or whatever it was, so. Another concern I have, I got a copy of this about the putting the paper, evidently it says it goes in June 16, 23rd, and 30th, and it lists all the people running for office. And then down at the bottom it said primary will be held August 2nd, 2022 at the Stanton County Courthouse. Is that a typo or what is
It's a
that?
typo.
It'll be corrected next issue. of the
already
paper.
corrected.
It's already corrected, okay, I just wonder how that got in. Another thing, I came in registered as a township precinct leader, and I got this document, so you printed this for me, this document. I talked to Adam Smith, and is that's an optional charge that is being made? Adam Smith said, I ran for county or precinct chairman for years, never paid a penny. Now, is that the state can let you charge up to that? Is that how that is?
That is what the Secretary of State's office tells us to do.
You can charge if you.
Now, there's, like Johnson County, I did reach out to them because you said you had a friend there that
Yep.
didn't pay. Johnson County can do what they want,
Okay.
and they usually do because they're a Democratic-led county. So they usually do different from what the Secretary of
Well, now,
State
what
does.
about Wallace County? That's where Adam Smith.
That's up to them, but I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
follow what the Secretary of State tells me to
So
do
you-
as an election
You as
officer.
commissioners then could waive that if you wanted to. You can pass a
No.
resolution, huh?
I'm the election officer, that's me.
Oh, you're the one that decides what's gonna do. They can't override your position. They can't say, I see, okay, that's interesting.
They're elected officials.
What's that?
He's an elected official,
Official.
same as us and same as
Okay.
Les.
Now, another question I have is I came in and paid my $1, but it also says I could go by petition for 3% of the party. What would that require? I have to have 3% of the people in my precinct have to sign a petition? Okay.
In your
Supporting.
party.
And how's that?
In your 3% of the voting public.
3% of Republicans in Wayne 02 would have to sign that.
In support of you.
Right. So that, you can tell me what that, how many people that is, then you'd have to.
I'd have to
know.
look, but-
Yeah.
It's not very many.
But,
It's not very many.
well, and there's quite a few Republicans in Wayne 02. I think there's what, several hundred of them, aren't there? In Wayne Township,
Yeah.
maybe several hundred, so. I don't know, I'm just challenging you to do this. Let's be more transparent. Maybe I'm in the dark and not too smart, but I just still don't know much about what's going on, or how we can get that done. So the public, of course, we're all in blank, we're lazy, we don't want to, nobody comes to a meeting unless they got an axe to grind.
Yeah.
And how do we get involved as citizens in the community and participate in what's going on? And how do you guys inform us so we know how our money's being spent, who's spending, what's going on? Thank you.
Thank you.
May I say one thing, please? On our meeting on the 18th, the day before Memorial Day, I was out decorating graves, and 3 young kids are on Route 16 picking up the graves that are on the paper. I've drafted up a May certificates of appreciation for these 3 kids, and we plan on presenting them to them on the 18th at our Lions Club meeting. And you're more welcome to come down if you'd like for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Murray.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
I just wanted to give you guys an update from emergency management and EMS since we just finished June. So here's the call chart from just last month, just so you guys, for information. So you can see the hours of call that everybody's putting in. And then on the emergency management budget, I have met with Rollins and Sherman County regarding the 2023 contract amount, so that is put into the budget. Obviously, those county budgets are not approved yet, but preliminary they are. Jill has finished the CPR training, so we are now able to offer CPR training in the county for all first responders. I know there's some medical people, daycare providers and that also are required to do CPR, and so we'll be able to provide that. And so we won't be charging to teach the classes, it'll just be the materials and the cards. So, whereas before we were having to bring somebody in to teach those, so we'll be doing this. Jill did
The materials and all that, EMS pays for them, the county
Yes.
pays for them?
the cards, so like the person taking the class will pay the card, it's a $25 fee to get your card.
Okay.
But we won't be paying instructors to teach the class, so.
That's good.
Jill did ask if it'd be okay to start exploring a grant for some new CPR mannequins because they're required to have the feedback devices. Now it's an electronic device that tells you that you're doing it correctly. The problem is those are about $1,000 each. And so she would like to start exploring grant options to get some of those, so.
I would think that'd be great.
Okay. We did have 6 EMTs that passed the A class. They all passed this past Monday. And so they will be going July 15th to Garden City to do their practical exam. And then they will have to sit for the state boards individually. Right now they can do that in McCook, but we're waiting because they're trying to get the testing site up and going in Goodwin. And so if they get that up in the near future, they can go to Goodwin to do that. So.
That's pretty impressive because I know all the time that they've put into it.
A lot of time.
The class had 12 students in it, because some of them were from other counties, and all 12 passed. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's been a lengthy class.
Is that the day of the internet issues?
Yes. It was. And so on that class, the state gives us what we call the education incentive grants. And so they pay, we get a grant for each student that goes into that class to pay for that. Where we hosted the class, we have 6 other students that weren't from Cheyenne County. So what we've done is Jill has invoiced those counties for their students because they get that grant sent to their county. So we invoice them. They will be paying Cheyenne County. That money will go into the grant fund with our grant funds for the class. And then we will pay out the instructor for the class. So you'll probably see that check come through on the thing in the near future. But those counties will be paying us, and then we'll be paying out. Steve Everett is the one that taught the class. So if that makes. And then we did have about a little over $2,000 in expenses that will be reimbursed back to our budget out of that same fund. So the stats for EMS, currently we are at 178 runs, which is a little above where we were at last year. Last year at this time we were at 130. Oh, sorry, Brett, I gave you 2.
Oh, sorry.
So we are running a little ahead as far as the number of runs. And then in revenue, for 2022, our forecast revenue for the year is $120,700. And currently we're at $93,219. So just 6 months in, we're running quite a bit ahead on revenue as well. So we have also been picking up transfers, which helps with that. So. And then you guys can see the accounts receivable and where we're at. For the last 6 months, there's still $22,000 out there yet to be collected of that $93,000. So, and then that last page is the overall. That's our overall accounts receivable with the write-offs and everything. So, if you have any questions over that.
Really good. Yeah, it does.
On now that they're passing the EMS, able to give shots and what have you in the ambulance, is that going to be an added
They'll be able to do IVs.
IVs?
Yes. And they'll also be able to IV fluids, medications. They'll be able to do additional interventions, which is obviously it helps those over in St. Francis as well, but especially over in Birch City because every run they have at least 15 to 20 minutes transport time. Mm-hmm. So they can really get some of this stuff started ahead of time before the patient gets to the ER. So save time. Does that answer your?
Yes.
Okay. And then I have some travel requests for you guys. I guess I'll just go through the list. So when the EMTs go to Garden City on July 15th, Jill just wanted me to ask if it'd be okay if they took one of the response vehicles down there and all carpool together, the 6 students from here. It's a day. I mean, they'll go down there and test and come back. So
That would save us on mileage for everybody else.
yeah, okay. And then I don't know if you got this as well, Scott, but they're having the Republican River watershed and flood mapping, what they're calling the discovery meeting, which Cheyenne County is part of that. That's where they're taking a look at the entire Republican River watershed and the flood mapping for the county. That is August 5th at 9 o'clock in Colby, because it affects several counties. I personally think that is something that we really want to be at and be aware of what that all entails. So,
I think that's gonna affect a lot of people.
yes, I think just from an education standpoint, I would also encourage you guys to attend that if you could, so. We have the KEMA conference coming up September 13th through the 16th. That's where Jill and I go to get all the state updates, but also my continuing education for certification. We have the Bonnie Dam and Bureau Reclamation annual meeting for the emergency action plan for Bonnie Dam, July 9th. This year it's going to be in Ray. I know that might sound crazy to be still having action meetings over the Bonnie Dam, but that is still an actual dam. And so if we ever did get heavy rains or flooding to where they shut the gates and all that, I know. It's just a formality, but
Last time it was a fire.
it wasn't bad. Yes.
It wasn't a flood.
Yes. No, but I mean, the dam's actual structure there is for flood mitigation, and it still serves that purpose. So there is still an active emergency plan for that if it ever has to be activated. So,
So is that in person now this year?
yes, that's, yeah. Mhm. The one last year, that was an exercise that we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is to review the actual emergency plan and everybody's role and contact and all that, so.
Well, I was proud of Cheyenne County because all of us were on there.
Yep, yep,
We were there.
and we knew what we were doing. Yeah.
Moving back to you say the EMS people are gonna have to go to take that test. Did they all go at the same time?
To Garden City?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna have someone else come in to cover or?
We
for-
have call covered while they're gone.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that'll be our own people or we're gonna have to call in?
No, we have our own people. As of right now, that weekend, or that day is
They're
covered
not on call
locally.
yet, are they?
What's that?
They're not on call yet, are they, the new one?
Well, they're still on call. Yeah, I mean, they're still running on call right now because they're still EMTs,
Okay,
but when the 6 go to Garden City, we have people here that are taking call.
great,
So,
okay.
Yep. And then the last thing I have is I have a KEMA meeting, July 6th in Salina. That hopefully will be done by 5 or 6, and so that will not be an overnight. That'll just be a day. I will come home that evening, so. I don't know if you have to approve all that individually or, so.
I think we just like a heads up.
Okay.
Right? Well, most of them are required meetings.
We are getting back to in-person now, so some of them are requiring travel. But I have noticed, because we got used to doing virtual meetings, some of the meetings are still continuing virtually, so that's gonna save on travel. Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you,
Unless guys have
Ryan.
questions.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yep.
You need a break?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, take a 5-minute break.
Yep.